And of course, 7.31B did ever so slightly tick that lone druid down, but by really sort of minuscule amounts. It's still terrifying. The shard at 15 is still going to be massive if that is the route that they want to go in, and their lineup can certainly fit that lone druid pickup. So see if they look in that direction. Thunder Awaken, meanwhile, going to get themselves that ogre. Just seeing that hero popping up over and over again, and should slot in quite nicely for Panda. Question at this point is, well, what do they really want to run for Sacred? We know Picasa is going to be put on someone that's going to farm and do high amounts of damage. That's just a given, but how aggressive do they want to be here? Those top two options for Sacred and the Mars and the Timbersaw have already been banned away, so you get a little bit creative here.
Yeah, and at the same time, could also just pick Bakaza's hero here, but okay. They're gonna reach a little bit with the Brewmaster, but we've seen it work before to great effect. There's not exactly the reason for this Brewmaster, aside from maybe just having the pool being thinned out, but hey, you're gonna be able to send that Tiny up into the air. It's going to stop Kosabile from really getting involved in any of these fights. It's a little bit strange seeing it picked up against the Treant Protector, just because, of course, if you do get your Brewling's overgrowth, they can actually get cleaned up very quickly, especially if the Tiny just is able to get that BKB up, just shorten the window of your team fight. And then I'm a little bit scared for this Brewmaster, but a lot of magic damage, a lot of early fighting potential, and that's the name of the game for Thunder Awaken. Every single member of their team right now can show up to every fight in those first 10 minutes, where for Zoomers, they might be stuck in a little bit of a waiting game here, but okay, that's a counter pick. That's your Huskar versus Kunkka mid if they want to go for it, but we'll have to see. Got a little bit nerfed in 31B, so we'll have to see if I believe the Agi and the HP regen based off the E got nerfed a little bit there, but other than that, it's still as dominant a counter pick, and it is picked up as a counter pick in this situation versus the Kunkka.
At this point, it's a little bit too late to sort of switch things up on the Thunder Awaken side. They don't really button the position 1 Kunkka much, if at all, so I really think that would be something that Picasa would be comfortable with anyway. So you might be stuck in this matchup. Maybe they try a lane swap if nothing else, but that sort of comes with its own complications as well. So it feels like 4Zoomers have really put together something quite nice to deal with Dark Mago, at least in the early stages of the game.
Yeah, and they ban out the CK. Absolutely agree with it. It's very interesting, at least for me, to see Thunder Awaken ban out the Dazzle and the Oracle. I guess possibly assuming that Moo could be the one taking this Train Protector and then still have Z-Freak on the Pugna, which we actually have seen before whenever they were getting maybe a little bit cheeky with their picks. But it's saying that this Huskar is still on an island a little bit here, that if they get any more save, then maybe they have sort of broader problems. But at the same time, for Zoomers with last pick, they could swap everything up with their final choice. It does feel like they need a Moo hero, and they could still go for the Legion Commander if they really wanted to, and honestly wouldn't mind it all too much. Just have someone to look for the Brewmaster at the beginning of the fights, and if they hit the duel, then, well, there you go. And because Bloodseeker, that's an old pick. That's something we haven't seen for a very long time, and something that we also haven't seen really in this position. Whenever they were picking the Bloodseeker, it was really in response to Pango being, kind of picked up versus Mars back in that meta. And then if it was looking like a good game, you could still run it as your carry. But if it was looking like a bad game, you'd almost assuredly have to put it as an offlaner. But now they're really calling that this is going to be a core matchup they can win. And of course, Bloodseeker versus Tiny isn't all too bad. That's kind of impressive. Locks down the Tiny isn't able to really do anything. You kind of have to hold him at arm's length, but it's still a little bit concerned here. Bloodseeker versus Huskar, though, that is a age-old counter just because, well, he's going to be at low HP, not really going to be pulling any sneaky Roche attempts underneath the U.
Going to be able to scout him out. You can maybe punish the life break a little bit as well if you do get that ult down onto him first, rupture him up. So it's interesting, but it's definitely a throwback. As you said, we have not seen Bakaz on that hero in quite some time, and there's a little bit of a reason for that. Bloodseeker really just kind of dropped off entirely, and on the other side of the draft, there's going to be that LC pickup for 4Zoomers. So, well, I think they've really done this quite nicely for 4Zoomers. This is one of the better drafts I think we have seen a team put together against Thunder.
No, definitely. And, well, hey, poor Zoomers love their healing. They've got I want to say, four natural means of doing so. And it's where Thunder Awaken, the question has been proposed. Are you going to have enough damage coming in from your Kunkka and your Ember Spirit to really make those same plays that throughout the rest of the tournament they're styling on everyone because, well, they just simply weren't durable enough to really survive in a lot of those situations. We'll see if Thunder Awaken have to move up their lanes or if Dark Mega is just going to sit versus Gunner. And I feel like Gunner's going to run away with it if that is the case, but it's where you're never truly locked out of a game as the Kunkka. You still have that small camp. Can only imagine four Zoomers are going to try to keep that blocked up as long as possible, but honestly, really love the LC pick. I think this is really one of the closest drafts we've seen thus far in the tournament.
Yeah, it is looking pretty close, which is absolutely fantastic news for four Zoomers. As we mentioned earlier, if our math checks out, they need the 2-0 here to lock down that upper spot. So, well, not a bad way to start things off. You've got some comfort picks. You've got something that really feels like it can go toe-to-toe with Thunder Awaken, but it is still going to come down to the execution, because we've seen this Thunder Awaken team, ET, even in a scenario where it looks like their opponents have sort of drafted to meet them toe-to-toe, sometimes they still just get the better of you. The execution in those early fights across the first 10 to 15 sort of swings against you, and you still end up playing from behind.
Yeah, and that's also where Thunder Awaken, they just have this almost sixth sense where they know when to bring five heroes, they know when to bring four heroes. They always somehow get the player advantage on top of you, and I think that's where four Zoomers need to be very careful when falling into those traps, because Thunder Awaken, they find out how to outnumber you, but they also know when to ease back. They know when to leave one or two heroes by themselves and then catch you off guard. It's how they never feel like they're gonna end up behind despite how aggressive they're playing. And Matthew, well, smoked up. He's got two obs wards. See how deep he decides to place them. But again, SA squad smokes, NA squad walks. We'll have to see if we get any early fighting because of that.
Relatively standard early ward there, so going to try to invade, and this is a nice one. They can get this sort of wraparound play. They'll see anyone coming from the actual tower side of the middle lane, but problem is, on the four Zoomer side, no one's actually walking into that trap right now, really completely by accident. They're just sort of focusing further to the north instead, so it's a nice move, but it's one that may not pay off. But let's see how patient Thunder Awaken want to be, just in case someone crosses over.
Hmm.
That patient, starting to inch their way back towards the river. Now, yeah, now I think they're a little bit too far out of position. They'll see Moo, but they've already sort of abandoned that big ground too much.
No, I think it will more or less even out here in Moo. Maybe he feels it that there could be a ward up here, but there's no way he actually walks towards this room. Oh, tried for the steal, but honestly, this harass doesn't really matter all too much, and especially with Z-Free coming over, making the trade a little bit better. But Matthew's got a long walk ahead of him.
Okay. He
Doesn't
ain't
even.
walking.
Yep.
Says, no, screw that. I'm not taking that much time. I'm just TP up there. So, fair enough. Sacred's the one who's going to be a little bit late to the party, but Husky is just going to maybe hit him up once or twice. Yeah. High base damage from the Trio Protector, as always, so I don't think Sacred's going to be in any trouble, but he's going to hurt him just that little bit. And now Husky will do Trio Protector things. Nature's Grasp out there just trying to be as annoying as possible, and I want to see exactly how aggressively Sacred and Matthew play here, ET, because they've got Searing Chains into maybe a Thunderclap to try and get them into that, but have a pair of heroes here in the Treant and the Tiny who are not exactly fragile in the late stage.
Nope, definitely not. And especially with the way that Living Armor was retooled, it just lasts forever. It just lasts for so much longer now than it did before. And, well, we'll have to see how that actually ends up changing the way that Husky plays and skills. I don't think Husky was the type of man to really get too many points in Leech Seed before, but Nature's Grasp has always been the easy play. But Matthew is one of these creeps absolutely everywhere, and he's not going to lose the aggro either. And I think Husky might just lost this one.
There's a whole long line of creeps following after, as Matthew will maintain the aggro. Really, all Husky can do is just sort of tickle him a little bit here. Nature's Grasp comes out once again, but
Damn, somehow meets the wave. That's crazy, actually.
A little bit more than half on the pull there, but Husky, at this point, he just kind of can't afford to leave right now. You chased him all the way over here. You just kind of have to stick this out and see if maybe you can deny a little bit of experience, because I don't know if Matthew actually will be able to hit level 2 all that quickly. He's got to manage it. Oh god, he's got to manage the aggro. Husky might actually have a shot at something here, as Matthew is dangerously low. He needs to do a little bit of dancing around his tower, but in the mid lane, Gunner, he gets taken down. Dark Mago, wow. Just sort of outplaying him. Torrent is going to be there, and that should not have really happened. Your Huskar gets kind of punished, and now what is going on down bot? You've got a scenario here
Look
where
across the board. Everybody's low.
Who's low, Because is low, Panda's low. It's just a strange series of engagements, but does the LC... Do you get anything here? He's silenced up, and
He needs
I
to
don't think
proc.
Because
That's
goes
what he
down.
needs. He needs to proc, and he needs to turn immediately onto Picaz, but I actually can't tell with his cosmetics which way he's facing. I think he's facing the Bloodseeker, but if he doesn't proc on this range creep, I think he's just going to get immediately killed here. Zefric has both his spells, though. He could try to stop the Ogre from right-clicking him, but, well, here we go.
Okay.
Let's see if this plays out.
Oh, the deep grab.
Oh,
That's big. All right, Picaz is the one who has to back off. Heads up play from Z-Freak, and now Panda, he doesn't have the damage to do this by himself. He's going to get taken down. That is incredible. Z-Freak just fast on the draw, and now Picaz, he has no regen. He's got 2 stick charges. That's it. So he has to wait for the Ogre to return with the salve. So you go from a scenario where it really seemed like Mu was dead to now they find their first kill of the game and really sort of shut the Bloodseeker down for like 20, 30 seconds. I mean, it's pretty important in the early stages.
no, that's why you never mix Dota 2 in preparation, because Zefree gets to look through all the different possibilities and just makes the right choice. Just salve decrep. That's just crazy from him. But hey, at the same time, at the very least, you just get your Bloodseeker immediately back into the lane here. But before all that, of course, it was with the solo kill mid. Don't know how Gunner was able to pull that one off, but I think that's where bottom lane, they're definitely going to take what they can get.
Sudden your Kunk is in a position that you well, you don't really like here if you're 4 Zoomers. He's got the kill, he's got a lot of last hits on the board, or a lot for 4 minutes obviously, but he is off to a stronger start than I think that they would have liked. But well, we'll see if they can maybe make up that ground elsewhere. As what's going on here in the jungle? Matthew has sort of rotated his way over, maybe just looking to stack up some camps at this stage, but even if he's just initially leaving to stack camps, you always need to be careful. Matthew on this Ember just wants to be so aggressive, and if you don't have eyes on him, he could really end up anywhere.
Yeah, and well, because I did see him there with the ward walking down the river, it just means that Husky gets to bully up Sacred a little bit, but again, this is exactly what Thunder Awaken want to do, even if Sacred's going to be underneath a little bit of pressure. Giving him the full XP, getting his fast level 6, you know, you can't really ask for more from your Brewmaster.
As long as he's left alone, I think he's going to be real. But over in the bottom lane, Picaz and Panda, well, trying to sort of play a similar style here, just hoping to get the Bloodseeker left alone for a while, but Moo's not really giving up on that. You can see him, he hasn't taken the press the attack yet. There's really nothing that's going to get thrown out onto him that I think he needs to be immediately afraid of. That Blood Right, I mean, technically the silence can come through, but Moo's only been hit by that once or twice.
Yeah, and just having really all these points just lets you be aggressive. You're almost orb wonking the Bloodseeker. He can never really approach him at mid. The dive going on.
Okay, they tried. Gunner, though, this time with the inner fire is going to be able to push him back, and Z-Freak's presence will deter that further aggression as well. But now they know Moo alone down bot, but Picaz is just taking too much damage here. They really can't afford to go all in for this. And in the meantime, there we go. They will get that stun down. Husky's too late to return to the lane, and maybe, can he catch up to Panda? Well, he can't, but Z-Freak can. That should be an easy kill for them, as they will get it, and
Ooh.
that's still not quite worth the loss of Moo. So heads up play. Thunder Awaken realizing, hey, listen, if Z-Freak's not here, we can take the LC.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate at the end of that Picaz's salve actually gets clipped, and well, more pressure.
2 on the Nether Blast, but still not quite enough. But they're not going to let this be an easy lane for the Bloodseeker. He did get that kill, but his HP situation is Not fantastic for the second or third time in this laning stage. The Ogre keeps going down and isn't really able to keep his teammate healed up. As Z-Freak, he's going to give it another go. Might just be enough damage. Decrypt into Nether is going to get the job done, and that's brutal. Because didn't get any extra regen brought out to him. Thought, you know, I'll just fall back into the jungle. No one's going to come looking for me. And well, obviously, Z-Freak's not going to let that opportunity pass him by.
Nope, definitely not. And of course, Thunder Awaken must be very aware of the ward now, but they timed that out perfectly with Husky rotating down bottom. Well, your tower is now completely gone here, and in a reasonable enough fashion that if they need to, well, he can go right back top. And I think that's where we might even see a full lane swap. Costabile leaves, TP gets brought over to Husky, and now if he needs to, he gets to defend that top tier one pretty much indefinitely. And that's also where, hey, you got living armor retooled. He's getting the max out on it, and that's exactly what the game plan is. Four Zoomers are really efficiently using the map right now.
See Thunder Awaken grouping up a little bit here, maybe looking just for a fight to try and, well, correct their situation, but you're gonna get that initiation just yet, and now this gets awkward. If you're bringing all these heroes over here to charge your way a bot and force a fight, then cool, yeah, go for it. But if you brought 4 heroes down here so that Kunkka can take a stacked camp or 2 and then everyone leaves, that is a weird allocation of resources. Dark Mago returns mid, which means Matthew isn't really going to be able to get that experience to get himself up to 5 or 6 either.
No, it's awkward, and
can they kill him in time? Yes, they can. They'll have to throw the tree, but get it.
yep, and well,
Matthew? Have a remnant down already? Because if he doesn't, that's a little risky, but okay. He was fine. Because throws out the silence with the blood right, so they're not going to be able to chase any further, but 4 Zoomers really sort of holding their own right now. They're ahead by 1k gold, and I know it's kind of early to be saying things like that, but normally this is the point where Thunder Awaken are already starting to pull away from their previous opponents.
yeah, they have a slightly different lineup in just that they need their sixes. They need to kind of sync up right now in the same lane before they can really make that easy play yet again. And I think that's where Matthew has really been off to an incredibly slow start. He's usually setting up for the mid lane, but that's where getting countered out by really 1 or 2 extra heroes that 4 Zoomers come, and that's the importance, and that's what they need to do versus Thunder Awaken. As long as they can stay equal on numbers, then I think they can actually take the fight to Thunder Awaken, especially with how durable their heroes are. That's what so many teams previously have just been lacking when it comes to going up against them. But it feels like Thunder Awaken right now, they're knocking against what feels like a stone wall, and okay, gonna realize that's an illusion pretty soon here, but the more plays that they whiff out on, sure, Costabile is not really farming all too much of the bottom lane, but as soon as it gets to his tower, they really are farming 3 lanes at the same time right now, while Thunder Awaken are scrambling to find kills, and well, Z-Freak might give them their first. He's not going to split, though. He wants to be greedy on this.
The X is going to come in, so yeah, they won't need to use the split. Should be able to clean up that kill quite nicely as Dark Mago gets it. And that is still looking very good for Thunder Awaken right now. Dark Mago, 2 kills on the board, highest net worth, progress looking fantastic for him. So it's a little bit surprising. I don't know. We were kind of expecting Gunnar to maybe put a little bit more pressure on, but instead Gunnar, he's here now, but previously he was just sort of farming up in that triangle on his own side. So it's kind of taking a slightly different tactic. Of course, the good news about that is that Gunnar is the highest net worth hero on his own side. So while he wasn't pressuring the Kunkka heavily, he wasn't exactly sacrificing farm in his own right.
Yeah, and we're still not seeing, I want to see that same Gunner that we saw laning versus the Ember Spirit. They're pretty much even. Didn't even get too many denies against him earlier on in this game, but that's where Dark Mago can also choose to take this game in whatever route he wants. He's going to go for his Halberd first, and definitely a fantastic choice versus both the LC, the Tiny, and the Huskar, but I guess that's where they're smoking up. This is without a Blink Dagger on Moo. This is also taking him out of the farming rotation for quite a long period of time here, and if they found Pecans, that'd be so perfect for them right now. There's no way they should get this kill, but I think they will.
Yeah, the duel comes in, Z-Freak's even there with the life drain to help out, and like you said, they shouldn't be able to do that without any sort of blink or gap closer on Moo, but Sabale in is going to provide them the lockdown that they needed, and now the press the attack's even used so that Dark Mago can't even think about any sort of return play.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a concern from 4 Zoomers, of course, waiting on this blink timing. they're not exactly giving Moo a ton of space either. It's actually Husky in the top lane who's solo defending the tower, of course, but he's also just taking the all of the lane, all of the farm, and as you can very well see, there's not really anyone else to contest him up here, so he will just get all of those free levels. And of course, once you have max level in that living armor, these pushes from Thunder Awaken need to be incredibly tight, and they almost need to play around the carts because nobody really is pushing all too well on their side. They don't have that free tower push that sometimes we see from the TA, from the DP, just heroes that can get on top of buildings and finish the job. It's where maybe the Bloodseeker feels a little bit less ideal, and they'll dive mid huge.
Okay, Inner Fire's going to get the push back there as well, but Sacred did get off the ult, so they're going to continue to push their way forward, looking for that kill on the Gunner, but with Cristobal in, this is going to get a little bit tricky, and they don't really want to commit for it. Meanwhile, Husky is going to scare everyone away with the threat of that overgrowth, so, well, a big ult used from the Brew. Primal Split, 2 minutes on cooldown. Whereas for Zoomers, they didn't really use much of anything there. They're actually going to go in. Cristobal gets the Avatos combo. Matthew not dead yet. I don't think they're actually going to get him here either. Z-Freak tried, but not quite able to make it happen. That is an X onto the Tiny, but no follow-up. They're just looking to defend the tower at this point.
Yeah, and it's a struggle. And with the creep wave dead, I think 4Zoomers might decide to back off here and just kind of reset, knowing that they're not exactly winning a 4v5. They're not losing it either. And I honestly think 4Zoomers are completely fine with that. They get to just split across the map, and any chip damage that maybe Picaz was able to get on top, well, that's immediately going to get healed up.
Armor being maxed out, just mattering more and more. And Husky, this is kind of interesting. He was able to get greedy in the context of a Treant Protector. Let's put it that way, right? The double null talismans coming out from him since he was farming up in that top lane. I know if you say 2 nulls is greedy on any other hero in the game, then people will look at you like you're crazy, but Husky sort of gets away with it a little bit. This tower's still completely undisturbed, and Thunder Awaken at this point don't even really have the resources to just commit all in for a lane push. At least not top. Maybe mid or bot looks a little bit different. As speaking of mid, Gunner is going to get jumped in on, but there's the support TPing in. They're going to get the LC here at least, and they just can't do this. They can't keep going through. They don't have that sort of breakthrough damage.
No, and honestly, that's where I think 4Zoomer's strategy of just farming up on the Tiny. Costabile is the one to break this game wide open for them until Mu has his blink, and he will finally take over the mid lane, while I think Gunner should definitely play a little bit more in the Ancient area, but they have heroes to build up towards, where Thunder Awaken, their plays are a little bit more fewer far and in between, and that's where Picaz as well, he's really not going to want to show up for a very long time. He's the cleanup crew. He'll TP in after the fight to try and finish off and top off some of those kills, but he's not really going to be the one to break out and really cause anything to start. And does Mu have this with the range? Just barely. Does he have the damage though? Nah.
Well, Leaf Panda, yeah, he's still dying, but Mu missing out on a little bit of damage. It's a level 1 duel though, so missing 10 damage but still getting the kill is probably still going to it's fine for him. There we go. Stable. Close to Dark Mago in the bottom lane, but as you were sort of saying, Tiny really doesn't care much right now about doing all that much fighting. Just building himself up at the moment. If the fight comes to him, though, it's still get involved as we see quite a few heroes grouped up in the south side jungle. The X is going to be on the Gunner. There's going to be the Torn and Negotiate. Kaz comes in looking for the Blood Rite as well. But they need more damage. Gunner's still not dying. They will eventually finish him off. And now they're in onto other targets. They've got Z-Freak sort of surrounded here. Going to try to catch him out with the X once again. Pull back. Damage coming into play. Mu. Well, sticking around just in case, but this is really kind of not a good move. The Undergrowth now comes in, but how much can they really do here? Not a whole lot. Gustavo is now in some trouble as Husky gets taken down. The X pulls Tiny back into the Torrent, and 4Zoomers are just going to get completely wiped out.
No, they get completely washed, actually, and I think Gunner specifically just travels a little bit too far away from his tier 1 tower. You don't have that purge, and as fantastic as the living armor is as well, armor now that it provides 12 instead of the 7 before, you still need that purge coming through from the press of the attack. Until he has a BKB, he really can't afford to be that far away, and it feels like Thunder Awaken are just not letting him breathe right now. Don't think there's going to be another attempt onto the Huskar's life, but it really feels like without that secondary dispel, Gunnar can't really afford to be as separated from his team, and they're fortunate that that fight takes out in the jungle because otherwise they would have gotten a building just immediately rolled if that was in the lane.
That is going to be the saving grace here for Forza Zoomers. You're still not giving up any actual ground in terms of objectives. But the good news for Thunder Awaken is that they were able to get some gold into the hands of this Bloodseeker because it's sort of been not slow. I don't think that's really the right phrase to use here, but he had been very much farming focused. But he comes in to the fight, picks up a couple of assists, and all of a sudden, I mean, he's ahead of every single core on the Core Zoomer side. So all it takes is sort of one major fight, and everything Core Zoomers have been building up over the first 15 minutes is sort of turned on its head a little bit.
Yeah, and they certainly still need to be cautious. They can't really afford to give up anything too early on here, but this is also, I think, Thunder Awaken's timing to maybe kill this first Tier 1 tower of the game. It will come at a cost, though, with them really being as set up as they are top. Immediate pressure onto mid, but they might just decide to cut their losses here, and yeah, they will decide to TP, but there's already a Pugna on the tower. This is still just damage that you're really not going to get back here, and they're looking for the revenge plays, but for Zoomers, they're still doing a fine job of splitting up their opponent.
They are making sure Thunder Awaken aren't really in a position to group up for another fight now that their ults are coming back online. So it's a nice tactic. Try and sort of delay, because that last team fight was, well, last two team fights really both went pretty poorly for Zoomers. So a little bit hesitant to go sort of face first back into it, trying to stall things out and really trying to get this blink on move. We've been saying that really throughout the entirety of the game, and they just don't really seem to be giving him the priority to finish that off. He is getting close anyway, so eventually that will be a power spike that they can maybe plan around, but by that point, what target do you really jump in and duel? Sacred's starting to build himself up. He's up there HP-wise. Obviously, the Kunk is in a similar position, so I don't know. If you want to get aggressive once you have this blink, it's just going to be... they're going to be hard-pressed to find anyone who's actually weak enough to just instantly kill off.
No, it's gonna feel like a struggle, but that's also where I would love to see a lane ward place top, and Husky, ooh, he's completely alone. He's just pumping the overgrowth, and maybe he pays for it, but it's also a very difficult kill for Pecans to actually seek out here, and yeah, just has to immediately give up on it. But I would really like a lane ward from Thunder Awaken, just stop the Treant from being so effective here, because they're getting played on elsewhere, and well, trying to make the escape, and it looks like it will work, but with the Shadow Blade now completed by Costabile, there's constantly going to be a threat of whenever you split off if the Tiny's going to try and find you, and they're hunting, but I think unfortunately for Thunder Awaken, might just be a little bit too slow. Might get Z-Freak though. That was an unfortunate path.
Just gets spotted in the tree. He's going to look for the TP, but the Torrent is there to cancel that out, so okay. Thunder Awaken get the kill. They don't get the Tiny though, but he's able to find another pick to try and just keep momentum going a little bit here, but now they can look for, honestly, something bigger. They've got the Ags up on your Brewmaster, so that Primal Split has the multiple charges, and at this point it feels like they need a teamfight win just to actually then push onto towers, because this Living Armor continues to just kind of shut them down.
Yeah, and even though the total heal is much slower now, it's exactly the same as it was before, except spanned over 30 seconds instead of 15. You can heal multiple heroes at the same time, or towers even at the same time. So unfortunately, as soon as they make this play mid, the hero up top is healed, but nice play.
Okay, there's going to be the first Primal Split. They take down Moon. Matthew does have to sacrifice himself, and it looks like Panda is going to fall as well, but they want to get on his Grasablo. They're going to track down that Tiny. He's even ruptured up, so he can't move much, but Z-Freak actually healing him up with the life drain. It's a nice play. It's just not enough. That rate of healing needed to be a little bit higher, so Thunder Awaken sacrifice their supports, but they get both Mu and Casable, but again, damage on the tower. Still not going to happen. Oh my goodness, Gunnar gets baited a little bit here. The cores will re-go, and Gunnar can't survive this one. Husky's going to try his best, but there's only so much he can do. Now he gets stunned up by the Earth Panda, and they should track him down. The Decrep is buying time. They've got another stun in onto him, and this Tree of Protector is rapidly losing his HP. The X is going to pull him back into a Torrent. They'll finish him off. Now Z-Freak next up on the chopping block, and ET, this fight ends up looking a lot like the previous two. At the end of the day, they just can't hold, and now they can get their towers.
Yeah, there's really not much you can do. And do they really hazard into the Roach Pit? They just finished their BKB onto the Bloodseeker, and it's going to go really quick. And without anyone really being able to push a response here from Four Zoomers, okay, it's only 13 seconds on the timer, but I feel like this is just going to be a free Aegis actually for Picaz, and that's a massive Aegis to have now, because now, well, Picaz can afford to be your front line a little bit here, and if he goes down, well, certainly there will be low heroes after he respawns, but oh my goodness, momentum shifted immediately, and that was all really off of just Dark Mago having, I think, his BKB and Sacred hitting his item time with the Ags, and then Force Zoomers severely underestimating their opponent.
Yeah, just gonna have to back it off a little bit. I don't know. I mean, just feeling like they're going to be able to scramble to make something happen as they are getting a duel in the middle lane. They're not going to get the win, but Matthew should go down. DOT, well, is it going to finish him? It should. He is dodging a lot of it, though, with that jump, but once he lands, he will still die. So Gunnar, able to get the kill. This tier 1, well, these two creeps actually kill. Never mind. Z-Freak says I'll just do it myself.
Yeah, gets the last of two, right? Not too bad, but for the first time in a while now, though, we are seeing Thunder Awaken actually get to catch up on these objectives, and as I usually say, Zoomers are definitely up the exchange right now. They have kind of the advantage because they were just able to take the most recent tower. Of course, with Glyphs reset, everything kind of gets thrown across the board here, but this is a smart smoke going into your opponents, collapsing on the mid lane. Not to mention, they still have the ward up here.
On the Dark Mago to start it off. Big play. Do they have the damage, though? It looks like they should. Not the win, but they get the kill. Husky, Overgrowth isn't great. Only caught Panda. Now Gunnar going to get hit up by the Ruptures. Because pops a BKB and pushes in, looking for the damage. But right-click-wise, he's not all that impressive. Gunnar is just holding his ground. It looks like eventually he'll go down. It's because he lost about 2/3 of his health in the process. But, well, they got what they wanted. They'll back out. Sacred is just going to wait out that Primal Split timer. Yeah, and they will walk away from that. But you get a kill onto Gunnar. It's a pretty heavy price to pay, though. Both of the supports and Dark Mago being taken down. Fantastic fight for Four Zoomers. Only downside is Moose still isn't really getting the wins, so his own damage output is not scaling at the moment.
Yeah, and at the same time, it feels like Four Zoomers got really lucky there because that ward stays up as long as it does, just because Bandaboo's getting a little bit greedy with his sentries, so he has to wait for his courier to come over. Otherwise, I think they're much more aware of what Four Zoomers could be up to, but at the same time, I think Gunnar needs to be really careful with how he uses his BKB because suddenly, oh, you can't get life drained, you can't get pressed. It's really up to you at that point, and even though he dodged the silence, from the Bloodseeker, it's where he's not receiving that healing any longer that Picaz gets to just kind of whittle him down here. And Picaz is looking for an incredible item this game. If he gets the Scotty, we got problems on Four Zoomer side, especially for the Huskar. We're just not going to feel that healing anymore.
Yeah, that Scotty, I feel like it's been sort of the item in about half the games that we have seen so far today, but that is the nature of the item. It's just so incredibly useful, and in this matchup, like you said, Gunnar is just going to not have the same amount of durability because they're not going to be able to keep him healed up as much. So they should get this tower. Glyph is only going to hold it off for so long. Immediately refreshed, though, by the loss of that tier 1, so not too much skin off the backs of Four Zoomers. But on the other side of the map, are they going to commit for the tower push themselves? They've got a couple of heroes up here, but while they're going towards the tier 1, Thunder Awaken are looking at their tier 2.
No, this is a little bit risky here for Four Zoomers, and I think in doing so, they are trying to finish up some very important items like the BKB on move, so he doesn't have to worry about any of the silences, doesn't need to be worried about getting too close. Costabile just finished up his BKB as well, and you certainly have to fight for these towers. You get so much armor from the living armor now as opposed to the raw healing, but it does feel like a more effective spell, at least at that aspect, and well, Thunder Awaken in a little bit of an awkward position here. They backed off the tier 3 push bottom, so Four Zoomers don't really have an express reason to leave their base here, but I feel like you only really make this move if you're looking for a smoke, and they're running around like they want to cut into the Four Zoomers jungle. It just feels like maybe this is coming a little bit too late here, and as soon as this creep wave meets, Costabile is going to start to farm it, and they have, I want to say, a 15-20 second window to hit this smoke. Otherwise, they might just need to give up and go for a different objective.
They're just sort of dragging their feet a little bit on this one. Haste Rune spawning in the South River might have helped, but
Ooh.
actually hit it in time.
Yeah, but without the smoke, they get scouted, and
Okay.
yeah.
There's the duel on the Sacred. Gonna try to bring him down. Don't think they'll get a win, but they might still get the kill. Nope. Promise Spring. Or, excuse me, not Promise Spring. Promise Split. Coming in. Moo gets taken down. Gunner loses his BKB here, so he's just stuck in a corner. Husky's not going to be able to help him. They're going all in onto this Huskar. Gustabile, well, he doesn't really want to be here either. His own BKB sort of wears down, so he has to try and retreat, but the X marks the spot is actually going to hit him up. That pulls him back in. Panda gets the stun down. Meanwhile, Z-Freak not able to complete that TP off to the side as he will be finished. And for Zoomers, I mean, these fights have started, I think, 3 or 4 different ways, but the ending always seems to be the same. They get wiped out. Costabile is at least able to take Pakaz out there at the very end of that engagement, but it's still going to be a loss for Zoomers. Really just can't seem to get past that obstacle.
Yeah, and hey, 1,500 gold to the Tiny, you know, you're never going to be upset with that, but it really is the larger issue of Dark Mago and Sacred just bringing way too much team fight to the table here, and unfortunately, Gunner, post BKB, is not really providing a lot. It's why he's queuing up the Ags right now, because he knows that's really the only way he's going to be able to chain stun up a kill together if they ever want to look for Sacred, but I think that really is the problem with for Zoomers here, and in their lineup, if they're not getting that initial kill with the duel, if Costabile is not immediately set up to go for the Avatos, well, you drop the chain, and then suddenly all of these spells get off that you've invested into a hero, and I think that's where the Brewmaster is just brutal, and you can't really afford any mistake like that versus him. They committed, I want to say, 6 or 7 spells to not get the kill, and okay, Panda Boo's gonna die for free, but I think team fight execution-wise, this next Roche fight's going to be incredibly important for them, but they really can't afford to miss a kill like that again.
Yeah, if they're gonna make the commitment and get it, you gotta get it. Otherwise, you just leave yourself completely open. So, well, we'll see where they actually look to take that next fight, and could make all the difference. As you said, Roshan could be the objective. It's a minute away from the shortest possible timer, but they're actually going to go in early. They've smoked up as 5, and the problem is that they're moving into an area where there really aren't any targets to hit, and they kind of already knew that. They've got the ward down here already, so a very strange smoke. Smoke for Costabile to farm, I guess? I don't really know, but they're not going to accomplish much with that.
No, it definitely feels like maybe a little bit of a whiff here, but they're still successfully getting onto the creep waves, and it's really important, especially for their top lane, just not letting those creep waves meet at the tower. So it leaves Thunder Awaken actually as the ones that are struggling a little bit to find their play here, but they're also looking to do the exact same thing, and with the tier 2 taken on the other side, they have the high ground pressure. They can threaten to go up, and Dark Mago as well, he spotted a DD rune, just finished his AC. Roche might respawn. We'll have to see. And no, it's going to be the, I think that's the 3rd longest timer, I want to say. So a little bit unideal for 4 Zoomers, but at the same time, gives them time to maybe finish their items, especially items on the Tiny after his Silver Edge here. And Silver Edge is a massive pickup by Costabile. It's what he bought with that 1,500 gold he got from killing Pakaz, but he needs to find his way onto his target. And this is where the jump, this is completely blind from Thunder Awaken, but this is scary.
Actually, still get the torn on Costabile. They're going to hit him up with the Rupture and the Silence as well, trying to push their way forward, but Z-Freak, look at that. He is getting that refraction down. I don't know if it's going to be enough right now, though, for the Ghost Ship. They will be flying through. No one dead just yet on either side, but eventually Z-Freak will fall. Thunder Awaken are almost trying to sort of reset this, but the Overgrowth is going to maybe ruin that plan because he gets dueled. He tried to back off, but he's going to get locked in place instead. Will they finish him off? No, Pakaz lives! They kill Moo. That gets Pakaz some bonus HP. And Thunder Awaken are going to sweep the fight. It was so close, CT. Pakaz had no health. I could barely see the bar. He just gets bailed out at the last possible second. And oh no, the end result still the same for 4 Zoomers. They just can't avoid this.
And they have everything there. They have the high ground, they have the sentries, they have the refracted life drain just hitting everyone, and It's just the constant rego, and it felt like for a second the Dark Mega was gonna die instantly there as well because the rum buff was just ticking everyone out. But I think Sacred, yet again, he's bailing out his team. He's keeping everyone locked down for so long, and then at the same time, because is pouring down these blood rights on top of you, and there is just no good way right now for Four Zoomers to deal with that silence. Post BKB, there's no Lotus Orbs, there's no Yules, there's no Dispels coming across the board. So without those BKBs, they just simply can't fight, and they get stuck again in this super long engagement. I still cannot believe that Pakaz did not die, though. That's ridiculous. And now, well, it's a rush to the pit. They have to get here in time. But I think Sacred, he might just run interference if he feels like they're coming over. So this is another Aegis over to Pakaz.
It's just too fast, and yeah, they're going to be able to get that second life up on the Bloodseeker. This is so terrible for Four Zoomers. They were on the verge of really just maybe finally finding their breakthrough, and now they're further behind than they ever were in this game. You've got 2 lives on the Bloodseeker, you've got the Shard as well, so got himself the upgraded Blood Rage. But now it's going to be even harder to kill him, right? He's going to be healing up just that little bit more. I don't really know how they deal with him at this point.
Man, I really want to see the Ags, though, on Bloodseeker. I want to see the new Ags. Blood Mist? Like, come on. I don't know. It sounds really funny, if anything. But I also think the Four Zoomers really are in a crushing position here because he's about to finish his Mjolnir. Then, well, hitting the Bloodseeker is just going to cause so much damage to get poured out onto you. Not to mention, well, hey, with the Ag swapped around, 25, you could choose between 2 Rupture Charges or even more Thirst damage. Knowing Pakaz probably going to see the Thirst damage just with how much he's actually able to do in these fights, but it's still crazy to see that hero retooled in such a way. Not to mention all his other talents still quite good.
Yeah, he is frankly terrified right now because 25k net worth, and you know, we saw this pick in the draft ET. We were sort of wondering, it's not been picked up for a while. Is it still an option? Can Pakaz still sort of make waves with it? The answer is very much yes. He has been massive to this point, and Four Zoomers don't have really a concrete answer for him. They've come close multiple times, but is it close is not enough for them to win the engagement.
Nope, definitely not. And with this Aegis, well, it's very similar to being the Husker with the Aegis. You're just not really afraid of everything. And that's where for Zoomers, they've adopted this split push style again, as so many of our NA squads have been forced to do, where Costabile is just trying to push down this bottom wave as far as he can. Maybe wait for a mistake, especially if Matthew comes over and then just immediately dies. But honestly, that's exactly what Costabile needs. He needs someone to play into his hands a little bit right now. And unfortunately for him, Thunder Awaken are also not just giving him that play. He's only getting the creeps in at something, but it definitely feels like with him only growing on his team, no one else is finding the way to these waves. Gunner's really halted in item progression. Moo's trying. He has still nothing post BKB, but it still feels like Thunder Awaken are getting the tools they need to win this one out. Not to mention Sacred, we haven't gotten to see it yet, but he has a refresher, so that's 4 charges of the Primal Split that 4 Zoomers are going to have to deal with.
Yeah, there's just too much stuff looking to stack up against them right now. Well, we'll see what they can do, because they may not have much of a choice anymore. The high ground is under siege. Still 2 minutes on that Aegis timer, so they've got to try and make a move. Salvo's going to come in. There's going to be the life break. They did get the duel down, so the Bloodseeker is dropping low, and they do get that first life. They'll get the win as well. Nice little bit of damage from Moo, but now Z-Freak is in some trouble. He's going to get pulled back in by the Axe. TP will be canceled. They will pick him off. He does have buyback, though, so get the Pugna back in fairly quickly, but do they actually want a second round of fighting here is the question. Because they used the duel. Sadly, though, is going to try to go, but that Rupture is thrown out onto him, so now he can't move as Pakaz jumps in, looking for the damage. They've got to be able to save Tiny. They can't do so. Matthew now trying to push his way into the fight. Didn't get the Searing Chains down onto much of anybody, but they're still breaking up this lineup. His Gunner tried to light break in. He's pulled back by the Axe. The Torrent's going to keep him up in the air, and while all that's happening, Thunder Awaken will simply claim their objective.
Going Sacred, pop the refresher. They're looking for more. And really, again, as soon as that Rupture goes down Costabile, he pops his BKB, but that means there's no more healing, there's no life drain, there's no press the attack, and oh, you're kind of hopeless at that point. You need to rely on yourself, and there's just not enough in the tank. Dark Vago also just hasn't popped his BKB, hasn't really used that much. They still have a lot in the tank here on Thunder Awaken. Moo needs to find Pakaz yet again here. He needs to find that free kill, and then maybe they can start to swing this, but that's where, yep, here we go.
Okay, they're good to go.
Oh,
Pause dropped low. The duel comes in. They will find it. Pause taken down. Big kill there. Can they get any more, though? That ghost ship, the ghost ship fleet, actually, is coming in to sort of break up their movement. I think that's going to be enough to really sort of keep them from chasing any further, but that is pretty huge. They get through both of the lives on the Bloodseeker. They don't really save their own buybacks, unfortunately, but you get 2 dual wins and you save your middle lane of racks if nothing else. So not a bad play for Four Zoomers considering the situation, but now they need to make more happen.
yeah, they're still under continued pressure here, and well, the win objective presents itself for Thunder Awaken. He killed Costabile, he's gone. He's not going to have any more chances in this game, and well, Matthew just solo killing Husky. You love to see that. Never really stopping on this guy's Ember Spirit, but at the same time, I think for Zoomers, this was well-needed space. Costabile, he needs to finish off that next item, hopefully before another fight breaks out, but that's also where, besides losing Pakaz actually just picked up an Abyssal Blade, so he's raring to go with, okay, Matthew maybe overextended just a bit.
Yeah, Boo's going to be able to hit him up with the duel. Nice bit of extra damage, so the LC is starting to scale maybe a little bit more, but Dark Maven comes in looking for the kill onto Z-Freak, one of the heroes who had used his buyback, so he's going to be down for a little bit. How much further do they want to go? They did get the X onto Gunner. That is still very risky for them. What is going on up here? Sable running into Panda. That's just a free kill.
Yeah, well, a little bit awkward. He's just running around with his wards, just kind of playing ogre, but you can also see just Thunder Awaken are constantly poking and annoying their opponents, trying to get the BKBs just casually used out of them. Fortunately for Four Zoomers, Mood just is where they need to be right now with the press the attack, so nothing got forced out that's going to have any lasting effect, but with Pakaz back, I mean, we could see this game slow down a little bit, wait for that next Aegis before either team ever takes another poke at the high ground, but we also should see Thunder Awaken try to close off the gates, not letting Four Zoomers off of their base here, because if Costabile dies, again, he doesn't have buyback. That would most likely be the game right there.
Meanwhile, Moo approaching a potential milestone here. If he can get that level 20, maybe get the press the attack AoE, then there's the possibility that he can maybe pull multiple teammates out of the fire in the middle of these fights, which becomes more important because we've mentioned repeatedly the BKB usage from Four Zoomers has not always been enough to actually save them, so mostly it's been because they BKB exactly when their teammates are trying to heal them up, but if Moo has pressed the attack on an AoE, then maybe that's slightly less concerning. Maybe you can hold your BKBs longer and not get into that exact situation where suddenly your friends can't save you.
No, and they've got to be careful here, and they are smoking up, trying to get some control, knowing that Roche could be respawning in 30 seconds here, but at the same time, with how exposed your base is already, and Thunder Awaken, they're fixing the annoying lane here where they've got their tier 2 gone, so they know that there's no split push play coming, and if they really need to, Thunder Awaken could just block them off by hitting this tier 3 bot, but that's also where supports are smoked on Thunder Awaken, but no one else, so it's a little bit awkward from them, but they also, I think, have a very good idea of where their opponents are playing. They know about the high ground up here. They know where Four Zoomers are set up, especially once these creeps start hitting in bottom. They just need to be very cautious with how this all breaks out. It really is all up to Moo. If he finds that initial jump, maybe gets a free kill, he's the only one that can do this for his team right now.
Time for Cause just sending some illusions up there to try and get onto the tower. Dark Mego with the DD, though, is actually just going to try and get it done quickly. And yeah, this is too fast. Four Zoomers aren't in position. They're going to lose the tower. Gunner now TP's in. Sable's going to arrive as well, and now they're going to try and take the fight. The breakdown onto the Kunkka. They need more damage, though, as the Rupture's going to come in, and this Tiny's just getting blown up. Gunner tries to push in with the life break, hoping to help, but there's still not enough. The Tiny's going to go down. That duel is not going to get it done as Move dies as well. The buybacks now have to come through, but they don't have any on the two most important heroes. Gunner and Costable are out of the fight, and that's the GG. It's just done in an instant.
I don't know where Moo was. I don't know what happened there. I think that Gunner and Costabile led the charge in with their TPs first, but Costabile doesn't even get the breakout onto Pakaz. He instead breaks the Kunkka, and something really went wrong there in the communication from Four Zoomers. I did not think they were really going to lose that quickly in that fashion, but I guess that's one way to win if you're Thunder Awaken. Just take Moo completely out of the equation, and then both the Tiny and the Huskar are not really that scary, but a very bizarre way for the game to get close out there from Thunder Awaken because Four Zoomers really just kind of walk into them. They did not respect the threat of that bottom lane, and I think maybe Four Zoomers trying to establish control, trying to do just normal Dota stuff, got in their heads a little bit. And well, that's a loss that is really going to feel warranted, I want to say, with how Thunder Awaken were playing. But again, I'm just very surprised that it went down in that fashion.
Yeah, I mean, we knew they were playing from behind, but like I said, it ends in an instant. Just the second Thunder Awaken push in, everything on Four Zoomers just collapses. So I don't really know. That was just so strange. As you said, communication may have been off there. So now, unfortunately, with that loss in game one, Four Zoomers don't really have as much to play for in game two. We mentioned at the start of the series they needed the 2-0 to get up upper bracket. So I believe now they are mathematically eliminated from contention and would then go to the lower bracket. So we will double check that during the break, but I believe that is the case, which means game two has a little bit less meaning. Also means it could get a little bit weird. We have just moved into a new sub patch, so maybe these teams will show us something a little bit unexpected. But Four Zoomers needed that first game. They're not really able to get it, so now the stakes kind of drop a little bit. But either way, the second game will be played. We're going to be stepping away for just a few minutes here while we get that one ready, and when we return, it'll be game two between Thunder Awaken and Zoomers as our final match of the night and our final match of the group stage.